Yeah, delighted. He was brilliant. I tried a little bit of a different way for warming up, and it did mean that he was a little bit excitable in the halts and the walks. So that did seem to take a little while to get through those movements for the test. But actually, for me, he was fluent. He was through his body. He put in some lovely changes, some lovely lateral work, and for me to have him back, 2019 was the last time he was here. To have him back at Burghley is exciting.
He was a baby horse then when he came fourth, which is great. Now he's an Olympic individual silver medalist. He's vast experience. Your relationship with him has built up incredibly as well. So this has to feel like a really solid jumping off point to be this close to the lead with two good tests for him still to come.
Yeah, exactly. So he's a great jumper, so I've really got to use that to our advantage for the next 2 days. And I mean, he loved it when he was last here at Burghley. It flows, the big fences, I can keep rolling down to them, he respects them. And you know what, it's so beautifully designed, and this year so fluent, I feel, that actually it should really suit him, hopefully.
Thanks, Tom. We'll pass it on to Oliver. Oliver, you know, to pick up that same theme, I know you like Burghley, you like Derek de Grazia's, so you have to be relishing the idea of riding it 3 times tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Burghley, as you've said, and I think it's, you know, the toughest 5-star in terms of terrain, and have a lot of faith in the cross-country course designer that he designs knowing the way horses see things. So it should be fun. I've got 3 good horses and 3 very different horses, but looking forward to it on all 3.
Your feeling at the moment, and you won't get to see a lot before you've got to ride Tregilder, but your feeling, do you think you get 3 inside the time?
Oh look, it's Burghley. Sometimes you get 1 out the whole field inside the time, but that's obviously the aim. But first, jump the fences clear and ride the horse rather than the clock, and see where we end up. But all 3 horses are good gallopers. 2 of them have been inside the time here before, and 1 nearly was inside the time last year until he tripped and fell at the landing of the second to last. So hopefully it's possible, but also very unlikely. 3 rides in a day at Burghley.
You were super pleased yesterday at Swallow Springs and incredibly generous in attributing a lot of it to the initial work of Andrew Nicholson, and I won't disagree with you there, but here you've got Ballamore Class on the same score, and that's all you.
Good horses. Look, I'm just thrilled with the performance of all 3 horses. All 3 horses have gone into the dressage phase and done clear rounds, if you like. Their work is still continuing to improve, all 3 of them, and you know, I think it's a great tribute to the team at home that I think 14, 15 and 16 years old horses are still improving and still developing in their work. So full credit to the team at home and to the horses.
Thanks, Oliver. So Tim, you're, in comparison to some years, you're here on holiday. You've just got 1 horse. You haven't even got the missus to look after either on horses for herself, for Janelle. So all focus in on Vitali, and it seems to have paid off.
Yeah, and actually maybe it has, but it's funny, I came in and looking at the guys with a few horses thinking, I'm so pleased I'm not riding 3. But when you come with 3, it's the opposite. You just want to take it on and go to work. But here with 1 this year, it's just, it's a lot easier. But I think for this particular horse, he's a complex character. Probably suits him to have a bit more of my attention. Not just riding him, just being around a bit more and just thinking things through.
It wasn't the coolest day, but I spoke to you straight after your dressage test, and you had worked hard on that. You're a fit bloke, but still, bathed in sweat, delivering an 18.7. Did you have to work for it, or did it all come together? I sort of want to know, did this come out of nowhere, this score?
No, this horse is very capable of this sort of score, but it's, as we all know, to do that on the day is where it's difficult. There's always 2 or 3 or 4 things of proper note that you could do perhaps better, and then all the other bits and pieces that create those kind of good scores. But today was a good day. It was for me it felt like a really working class approach for myself on a very classy horse underneath. So that's probably where the sweat came from, because I felt like I was really pushing and riding and not so focused on, you know, being perfect in my position and things, just trying to be effective. And the horses are much fitter than me as well. They just carry me around, so that's really nice.
I thought it was quite amusing earlier on when you, the world #1 and former Defender Burghley winner, described yourself as a journeyman rider, which I think, you know, you might be a little bit beyond that. So have you rung Chris Burton to tell him that you've taken away his record? So he was low 20s, he was 20.2 with Nobilis, and you're the first sub-20 score in 45
that's
years.
Probably the reason I haven't had a well done mate test. He'll be all over that possibly, but yeah.
Rail in hand going into Sunday, if everything stayed as it was. I mean, we've got a long way to go there, but does that feel like a good thing to have?
It's really one step at a time, isn't it? We all know that it's such a big beast out there. Tomorrow we have to take it one step at a time around the course and compile a decent round that is hopefully up there at the end of tomorrow, get through Saturday night, and then we can start to focus on Sunday. But I think we all know he's not always been the best jumper on day 3 at a big competition like this, but he is a good jumper, he's an athlete, but we've not been able to always produce that in this kind of environment. So yeah, we'll get through to Sunday, and I think I brought him into this competition in a very good way, mentally and physically, and yeah, we'll just take it one step at a time, like I say, go from there.
And just very quickly to the 3 riders, what fence are you yet to make up your mind about? What's the one that's last in the planning? What are you thinking about the most?
The houses coming home to the water, which is down the hill, and perhaps it's a little bit of a hangover of the types of horses I've had here in the past. Have been bigger, stronger types that have been dragging me down that hill. We've just made it over the carriage.
Yeah, and then the Boodles rain dance.
Thankfully, we've had a few fences there with a soft profile on them, some brush and things that you can flop into the water a bit, but those there require a bit more of a ride.
And it's the cumulative effect, you know, if that was fence 4, that wouldn't be a huge issue for you,
Yeah.
but coming where it does on the course.
But there's a lot to do before then, but that's just something that's in my mind a little bit. You're managing your horse a little bit coming home, and that's somewhere we're asking a bit more of them perhaps than of us.
Oliver, you're not allowed to say the second last.
No, it's fence 16 or 17 now, or 13. I think all of it. I think that it's a kinder track perhaps early on, but it's still very much Burghley, and by the time you've got to the big brushes up the top before you drop back down to the trout hatchery, I think everything just stands up at you that bit bigger at these 5 stars, and especially at Burghley with the terrain. Fences come a lot sort of quicker, and you have to work a lot harder, you know, especially when they start huffing and puffing a little bit. And then Dairy Mount, I think, will be quite physical as well. You know, I think you need to get a sort of a blow into the horses down the hill to that, and then gather them back up again, and you're going to have to really make that happen. But it's Burghley, and yeah, it's tough from start to finish.
And Tommy, you've got two quite different rides between a 10-year-old Burghley first-timer and the old veteran, as he is now. It's amazing to think, because he was such a prodigious young horse, Toledo de Casa. Does that mean that maybe there's 2 fences in your mind, one for each horse, or...?
Yeah, they're very different, but Luna's come here with the best prep possible. She's been up to Blair Long, Bramham Long at the beginning of this year. So for me, she's very well prepped, and just because she's not a seasoned campaigner, she's still very much ready to rock and roll around this course. But for me, I'm exactly the same as Oliver. It's a cumulative effect. It's Burghley, it's the hills, it's not just the fences. Yes, it's probably less intense to begin with, but there's still plenty of questions. And sort of, I'm a bit the same on Oliver with the Dairy Mound. It's yeah, you don't always quite know how those triple R's are going to ride, and obviously now they're pinned, it just adds a extra dimension to them.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, all of you. Are there any questions from the media for our guys before they go off to Burghley TV? Yes, Miss Room.
Question for Christian. About the judging across the 2 days, some of the riders felt it was a little kinder on the second day. Could you just tell us from the ground jury's point of view about how it is keeping that consistency for you, and your views on how you keep that consistency and how you felt it planned out?
So I know, as I myself was a rider, you always think on the second day the ground jury is more generous to the rides. but I can promise you we try to do the very best, and we have our picture how it should like for a certain mark, and we don't face is it on the first day or is it on the second day. We have our ideal picture from where we are giving the marks, and I'm sure that's all over the world. So, but I know the riders are not always have this feeling. But I just can say it is, if you then watch the videos and read the documents, the tests, then very often it becomes very clear why certain marks has been given, either on the first or the second day.
Thank you.
Another question for Christian. What are the grand jury's thoughts on the course?
The jury's thoughts on the course when you walked it on Tuesday.
As the guys mentioned, it's a tough Burghley course. I was here several times, just visiting it, not officiating, and especially because of the terrain. Yes, the fences are big, but fences on other courses also big. But the terrain, the up and down, I think the horses need a lot of balance and a lot of support from the riders to keep the balance and then to jump the fences.
Tim, you jump in Europe, show jump in Europe in the winter. What advantage do you think it gives to 5-star horses having that expertise on sunny sides?
It is very beneficial to almost all horses we've found. This horse has been down there a couple of times now, Vitali, and it just allows you to go through the motions of a jumping system, if you like, without the emphasis on the whole package of eventing. Gets the jumping muscles working, gets them fit, good surfaces, and when we come back to the English start of the season, it's not so critical that those first couple of runs happen. You know, there could be bad weather, cancellations and things, and we feel a little bit more comfortable with that if they've done a little bit down there. That's really all there is to it. It just gets our eye on a bit earlier in the season, and it's very beneficial for the young horses. It's been hopefully beneficial for this guy in the long term as well.
Well, as ever, there's a lot of calls on our riders, and we want to get them to you guys first, and thank you very much, but we will let them go if that's all we have. Thank you very much. So our top 3 scores: Toledo de Cursa, Tom McEwen, the 2, of course, for Oliver Townend, and Vitali and Tim Price, our leader on that record score at the 5-star level, and at Burghley of 18 point, I think we ended up at 7, didn't we? 18.7. Ladies and gentlemen, our top 3.